So, for a while now, we've been tearing down some of the old, broken models of masculinity. Like the nice guy who ends up feeling kind of numb and isolated and honestly pretty resentful. Well, today, we're not tearing anything down, we're going to build something new. We are going to dive into a pretty radical idea that to be a genuinely good person, you might first have to become a dangerous one.
Yeah, this quote, it's a bit of a shock to the system, isn't it? It completely flips the script on what most of us were taught about being good. The idea that goodness is somehow linked to being dangerous, that's the heart of what we're getting into today.
So just take a second. Check in with your gut. What's your immediate reaction to hearing that? Is it fear, a little bit of confusion, or does some small part of you, maybe deep down, hear those words and think, yeah, that sounds right? Your answer to that is the perfect place for us to start. Okay, so here's our roadmap. First up, we're going to dismantle the nice guy error. Then we'll get into why good men need to be dangerous. After that, we'll talk about how to integrate your own inner shadow and turn it into healthy aggression. And we'll wrap it all up with the new ideal we're shooting for, the warrior in the garden. All right, let's dive right into this first piece because it's so important. So many of us grew up with an idea of what good means that is just fundamentally flawed. And it all starts right here with this one huge misunderstanding. This right here is the central mistake, the belief that to be a good person, you must be a harmless person. It's this idea that you have to file down all your sharp edges, push down every aggressive impulse you have, but that's not virtue. That's just repression. I mean, think about it. If you have zero capacity to enforce your boundaries, is being peaceful really a choice? Or are you just kind of helpless? A no that has no teeth, that can't be backed up? Well, it's not a boundary, is it? It's just a friendly suggestion, and it has no real power. So, if being harmless isn't the goal, then what is? Well, this is where we start to reframe that word dangerous and turn it into something that's not just positive, but absolutely essential for real goodness.
This slide is so critical. Look at the difference. On one side, you've got peaceful. This is someone who could absolutely cause harm, but makes a conscious, deliberate choice not to. That's a virtue. On the other side, you've got harmless. This is someone who is simply incapable of it. That's not a choice. It's just a limitation. They're not the same thing at all.
And that's the key right there. Real moral strength, true virtue. It isn't found in a lack of power. No, it's found in having that power, having the capacity for mayhem, and then having the discipline and the character to hold it in check, to control it, to only use it when it is absolutely necessary. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you, actually do it? How do you become dangerous, but keep that danger under voluntary control? The answer lies in a psychological concept that might sound a little dark at first, but it's incredibly powerful. You have to make an ally of your inner monster.
So let's get a clear definition here. This term, the shadow, it comes from the psychologist Carl Jung, and it basically refers to all the parts of ourselves that we'd rather not admit exist. Our anger, our aggression, our primal instincts, all the stuff we try to push down into the dark because we've been told it's bad.
But here's the thing about trying to repress the shadow. It doesn't go away. It just festers, and it starts to leak out sideways in these really unhealthy ways. It shows up as that snarky, passive-aggressive comment, or that simmering resentment you feel all the time. Or worse, that sudden, terrifying explosion of rage that feels like it came out of nowhere. So instead of repressing it, we integrate it. Step 1, you have to acknowledge that the monster is there. Just stop pretending you're a completely harmless person. Step 2 is to, metaphorically, invite it to tea. This just means get curious about it, without judging it. Maybe you feel a flash of anger, and instead of shoving it down, you just ask, what's that about? What boundary just got crossed? Step 3, you own it. You say, yes, this aggression is a part of me. And finally, you learn to take that raw energy and transform it into something productive. And that leads us perfectly into this next part. What does that transformed, integrated aggression actually look like in your day-to-day life? When you stop it from leaking out as resentment, what does it become instead? Well, it becomes an incredibly positive and powerful force. It becomes your drive, that forward energy you need to go after your goals. It becomes your protective instinct, that fierce ability to stand up for the people you love.
And it becomes the bedrock of strong boundaries, because now your no actually has power behind it.
Here's a great way to think about it. That raw, primal energy is just fuel. It's a source of power. The exact same fire that could make you a formidable opponent in a physical confrontation can be channeled directly into your career, into crushing a sales goal, into your creative projects. It's the same energy, just pointed in a constructive direction.
I absolutely love this metaphor. Before this work, your boundary is kind of like a polite request. It's a line you draw in the sand, and it's pretty easy for people to just walk right over it. But after, it's a chain link fence with a very alert, very capable guard dog pacing behind it. People just know instinctively that this is a boundary you don't test, because it has teeth.
So, where does all this take us? What's the end goal of all this integration and reframing? Well, it leads us to a new model, a new archetype for what it means to be a good, strong, integrated human being. It's the synthesis of everything we've talked about.
And this is it. This is the goal. Not to be a harmless person who can't really defend anything, but to be a warrior, someone with an immense capacity for action, for defense, for danger. But where does that warrior choose to spend their time? In a garden, a place of peace, of cultivation, of beauty, of life. They have the full capacity for war, but they dedicate their life to cultivating peace.
And that leaves us with one final question. And this one is for you to really sit with after this. It's one thing to develop the capacity to be dangerous, but it's a whole other thing to have a life, a purpose, a family, a community, a garden that is so beautiful and so meaningful that it's actually worthy of that fierce protection. So the question is, what's your garden? And are you building one worth protecting?